We're talking netball here on Flow FM, and we've got Joe Franklin with us, our Eyre Peninsula netball correspondent. Joe, how are you?
I'm doing really well, thanks, Dan, and you?
Very well, thank you. Great to have you on board again this week, and we'll start off chatting about the Great Flinders Netball Association, who kicked off on the weekend.
Yes, they did, and what weather it was. Not necessarily ideal conditions for the opening round, a little bit of rain around, but nevertheless, everybody got underway in Great Flinders with Tumby Bay taking on Cummins-Kapini at Tumby Bay, and in the end, Tumby Bay were able to get over the line by 8 goals, 36-28, and the Blues defence line was pretty tight all game. Very experienced defence line that they've got there, and they certainly showed their strength throughout the entire court. Cougars have had to put together a whole new look team and are still working on their combinations. Obviously, they had quite a few ins and outs, and it'll take them a couple of weeks to settle down, I would think. And Jack would be working pretty hard with them to come up with a combination that's going to work for the season. So Tumby off to first-round winners there. And look, Eyre United, in what is supposed to be, what is going to be their last season as a netball club, they got off to a great start in their final fling, and they defeated United Jelena by 20 goals, 45-25. So well done to Eyre United. Look, both sides are very new look. They have new combinations happening, and it will certainly take a while for them to settle in. The Jelena side are very young and certainly had quite a few players who have left, and even some players who are going to be playing who are out on Saturday. So, they struggled a little bit, but, they well done to the Saints. They had that first up win, and I'm sure that Jelena will continue to work hard and develop as the season goes on. But and obviously because of the listening base of the Flow channel, Dan will concentrate on the Elliston Districts game, and they were also last year's premiers in Great Flinders. So Elliston, in the first quarter, they were up by 6 goals, 14-8. In the second quarter, they were up 26-14. In the third quarter, it saw them go up to 42-22. So Ramblers are really up against it heading into the last quarter. However, they were able to steady, and they were able to actually hold Elliston Districts down to 10 goals in the last quarter while scoring 9 goals themselves. And so the Roosters girls actually only won their last quarter by a goal. So well done to Ramblers for finishing that game off quite strongly. But in the end, the final score was Elliston Districts 52 to Ramblers 31. Emmy O'Brien shot at around 58% for Elliston Districts. Rani Tomney, a very handy fill-in for Elliston Districts last week. She shot at around 90%. Rani will normally play for Central Eyre United in the Eastern Air League, but the Ramblers goalers, they shot at around a 71%. Abby shot at around a 71%, and Michaela Richer around 59%. The incentive for Elliston Districts went to Emmy O'Brien for her effort in goals. And as usual, Nikki Schubert and Kelsey Hull, their outstanding defenders, were very, very strong again. And for Ramblers, Michaela Richo was pretty strong for them. And unfortunately, one thing that I did hear out of that game was that Kira Simons had to come off during the last quarter with what might have seemed to have been a bit of a calf injury. And we're really hoping that it isn't anything too bad, because unfortunately she missed all of last season with a serious injury. So hopefully she's not too bad there. But well done to Elliston Districts for getting off to a big win in the first round at Great Flinders.
It sounds like an exciting first round, and Elliston with the bye coming off that big win this week. We'll just get a quick preview of this week's games. We've got the Ramblers taking on United Jelena, Lock for their first game of the season taking on Cummins-Kapini, and Eyre United taking on Tumby Bay. Is there anything here that really catches your eye?
I'm really going to be interested to see what Lock come up with. They were really finding their feet last year and haven't lost a lot of players, have been able to hang on to most of the team from last season. So Lisa Burrows will be able to follow up there, which will be really interesting to see. As I said before, Cummins-Kapini coming up with a whole new look side. So I will be very interested to see how Lock come out on Saturday, what their combinations are going to be, and whether they can really build on the performances that they had towards the end of last season. So I think that is a bit of a standout game there. For that round. Ramblers really should have a win over United Jelena. As I said, United Jelena are quite young and still putting their side together. And the the derby, Eyre United and Tumby Bay, and I would be thinking there's probably quite a few. Well, there's already a couple of the Eyre United players who have moved into Tumby to play, and I'm thinking that there'll probably be a few more after this season's finished. So, but I would think that Tumby would be too strong there. And as you said, Elliston have the bye.
And the same games going on across all grades there in that competition. But let's move on to the Eastern Eyre Netball Association, where round 1 kicks off this weekend.
Yes, it does, Dan. Anzac round, so each of the games will be playing for an Anzac medal, which we know goes to not necessarily the best player on court, but the one who's shown the most courage and the most determination. So both games will be presenting an Anzac medal at the completion of the day. But to start off with, on Saturday, Central Eyre United will take on Ports. Now, look, Ports have struggled. There's no point denying that over the last few years, but they certainly keep trying and they keep putting up an A-grade side, and they've done a lot of work in the off-season. They've had Kylie Petherick, who originally from Cleve, but who's been down in Port Lincoln for a while now, and she's done a bit of work with them. They had a trial game against Kylie's Tasman's Imperials team. They've had Jackie Blythe, who is a Premier League coach in Adelaide. She came over and has taken a couple of training sessions, and they're looking at Kylie doing some extra work with them throughout the season. So they're certainly working hard towards making sure that they are competitive. They have had a few outs. Phoebe Masters is having a baby, and Sadie Leonard has returned home. And unfortunately for them, Alex Mason, she got quite a bad hand injury during the women's footy season down here in Port Lincoln, so she'll be missing for a few games. But they have been able to get back Hannah Wolford and Miranda Millard, and also pick up an import from Port Lincoln in Louise Hinge, who is a goalie. So they're also looking at Abby Harris and Lauren Millard and Courtney Grigg, along with Letitia Masters and Beck Harkness, to put together quite a handy combination. They have Megan Llewellyn returns to the coaching of the A-grade side this season, so we do wish them all the very, very best, and I hope they reap some rewards for the hard effort that they are putting in. However, they will be up against Central Eyre United, who again this year are being coached by Azeka Grokey. They've picked up a couple of very handy ins. They've picked up Zoe Phelps from Elliston Districts, and that will certainly strengthen up their defence line and probably across the wing defence line as well, maybe. They've also had some players who have sort of shifted between the A and the B grade, and one of those being young 15-year-old Rebecca Sampson, who's moved up into the A. So she'll move into goals with Rani Tomney. Now, that is a very young but very tall goalie combination, and they're only going to develop and grow in confidence as the season progresses. So I'll be really interested to see how they go. They'll also still have the Bruce sisters, Keely and Abby. They're both very tall, strong players, and through the mid-court they'll have Mel Skinner, Alice Little, and returning from a couple of years off will be Emma Parsons. So they've got a good combination there of youth and experience, and certainly plenty of height, which will service them pretty well, I think. And I think that they will be too strong for Ports. That game is at Kynecutter. But I'll be interested to see how both sides shape up for their first games of the season.
Kimber Districts with the bye first off. Our other game in the A grade, and all the same games happening across the B, C and D grade. Cowell A grade versus Eastern Rangers A grade.
And this is actually Anzac Day, so this game is on Tuesday, and I know that Cowell have done a lot of work to prepare for Anzac Day. The netballers are looking at having braids with poppies in it, and they're making some poppies to decorate around the club rooms and those sorts of things. So we're certainly putting in a big effort for Anzac Day and the hosting of the game. Look, Cowell this year, Tracy Mills has taken on the coaching role, assisted by Camille Jonatas. I think that's how you say it. Camille is pregnant, and so she's not playing, so she's giving Tracy a hand on the sidelines with the coaching. They've lost a couple of players, quite handy too. Sophie Flavel out of goals, who's headed to Port Lincoln for school, and Mickey Harding, who's got some work commitments, and of course Camille. They've got some ins. Claire Taverner, who is a teacher, has come in as a defender. Emma Jordan, who filled in a little bit last year, but she's from Adelaide, and she'll be helping them out a lot more this season. Mickey Sivier, who also had a couple of runs last season, but has really committed back to the side this year. Shani Flavel returns from school here in Lincoln, and she'll play in the goal circle, I would think, and will be quite a good pick-up through there. They've got Shay McFarlane, who's returned from Central Eyre United, and dear Laura Turner, she's remained from last year, so one of the very few who is still there from last year. But they certainly have got a lot of work to do and need to work on the new combinations that they're going to put together, and wish them all the very best with that against Eastern Rangers, who are this year being coached by Carmen Hampel, and they're saying that they're going through a rebuilding year. Look, we know that they were last year's premiers, but they have actually lost 4 out of that team from last year. Jordan Hooper, Lauren Symes and Shani Roberts, who have moved away, and Kate Semlick, who has retired. And Carmen hasn't actually settled on a final 7 yet, but they're actually a little bit light on, which is quite unusual for Rangers this year. So they're probably going to be looking at running the bare 7 or at a maximum 8 in their sides. And she's looking at building a team around Lily Nettle, Nicole Symes and Erin Son, who are still in the side from last year. But they've got some good newcomers. They're just not really sure where they're actually going to sit and where they will fit in, but they have picked up Joanna Hull from Whyalla, Lacey Washburn and Chantel Karen. Georgia Can and Emily Wolford and Marty Schumann have all come to the club. They've followed, which is very handy, they've followed their men folk to the club. Their guys are playing footy. Anna Cant returns, and then they've got some very handy juniors, one of who has actually been picked in the academy, the Thunderbirds Academy for Whyalla, Ava Jenner. Then they have Gabby Tahini, Lenny Richardson and Lexi Burrows, who are all moving up into seniors from juniors. So Carmen has a bit of a headache there, I think, trying to work out what her final 7 are going to be. And if Cow were ever going to beat the Rangers, then I would think that they would need to grab this opportunity on Anzac Day and run with it and see if they can't get away with a win. And being a life member of the Cow Netball Club, Dan, and an ex-coach and all and involved, my heart would probably say that Cow could come away with a win.
Jo, you're right across it. Thank you for that wealth of knowledge and thank you for your time today. Hopefully the weather's a bit nicer this weekend. Thank you and enjoy the netball.
Yeah, you too, Dan. Thanks for everything. Bye.